Welcome back to Inside Tennessee. John North.
Let's follow up on what we were talking about at the last block, and that's growth. And it's so interesting to me to watch what's happening today in Knox County and maybe some of the other surrounding counties. And that is, you have more people coming in. You talked about that. You also have more people that are much more vociferous about saying, don't want the development, don't want the traffic, go away, and we're going to fight your new development, your new plan for 50 or 100 or 200 rooftops in our neighborhood. Didn't really have that so much. I mean, you had growth occurring during your time. How do you manage that? If you're sitting back, and you're watching somebody like the town of Farragut and some of their elected leaders who are like, we don't want this, we're not going along with any kind of traffic or growth plan. How do you manage that? I'm sure it's quite interesting for you to be watching all that and going, didn't have that problem.
Well, John, sometimes it's much more fun being an armchair quarterback than it is to be the quarterback. And that's a challenging situation we have now, because I think economic growth has led to a situation where we've had a long period of time without a property tax increase. We've been able to do lots of good things, but when you stop that, it's going to catch up to you very quickly. And the old not in my backyard syndrome is out there in a very prevalent way right now. It is. But some of the points they make are good ones. So it's got to be a balancing act. You got to balance growth with what makes really good sense in a community, and pay attention to folks and their concerns. And it's a situation that I'm glad that I'm not dealing with at the current moment.
Political challenge.
Yes. So, Mike, I'm going to ask a tough question.
Okay.
And we've been friends a long time.
Yes.
If you look at your first term versus your second term, I think many people thought towards the end of your first term that you would be a likely candidate for governor. And then it's safe to say the wheels sort of came off. What would you do differently now, particularly as it related to your second term and some of the challenges you had concerning financial management, financial oversight, some of the criticisms that were made of you, and some of the findings, frankly, that state auditors and state AGs and some of the things that they found out? How would you change it, or what would you do differently now? And do you think you would have run for governor?
Would I run for governor? No. And I was flattered that people brought that up, but that was never on my agenda or on my radar screen. In fact, when I finished county commission, I didn't immediately turn around and run for mayor. I sat out 4 years, went back to private sector, and enjoyed it immensely. Would you do some things different? Well, absolutely you would. But you know, at the end of the day, after a massive comptroller investigation, you're on the news constantly, I tell folks it ended in a 2-word headline in the News Sentinel: Ragsdale cleared. And that was a nice.
It's clear you weren't charged, but they did cite mismanagement of those funds.
We raised private sector dollars to fund public events, and agencies, including the Knoxville News Sentinel, contributed to those. So could we have managed that better? Absolutely. Was there fraud? No, I don't think so. I think we did some things that were chastised perhaps a little too harshly. But I'll say this: you learn a whole lot more about yourself and what you can accomplish when you're in one of those challenging times than you did that first term, which was so smooth and easy. And one of the things I'm most proud of is during those challenging times, we kept going forward. We started Knox Achieves, which became Tennessee Promise. We kept doing our capital program. We had a Read With Me program with 500 volunteers in every first and second grade classroom, which, John, you participate in, each and every week. So I'm proud of what we accomplished, even though it was really challenging. You're right, it was tough.
And you know, Mayor, Don brought up the second term of your office, but let's look at the second term of your life as you're entering it now. A lot of good things that you're doing that honestly are great for the community.
He's like you, he's out of politics, isn't he?
You know what, it is great for your health.
It is.
But let's talk about some things that you're doing right now with Habitat for Humanity and what you're really doing to try and make lives better for people in our community.
Sam McKenzie, state representative, mentioned to me that, you know, when you were mayor and he was a commissioner, we never talked one single time about Republicans, Democrats. So we thought, let's do something along that line. So we thought, what about a bipartisan bill for a Habitat House? And so that's off and running. And thanks so much to you and your team for giving us initial coverage at the press conference. Mayor Kincannon, Mayor Jacobs on board with the bill day. Courtney Durrett, Terry Hillard coordinated bill day. I'm working with Mayor O'Hara and Commissioner Diane Jordan, former Commissioner Diane Jordan, on a bill day. And then there'll be one at the end where you'll have Sam McKenzie, Senator Massey, our school board chair, Betsy Henderson, coordinating a day, the Baker Center, and others. So we're going to build a house. It's going to honor Dwight Kessel and Tank Strickland, and most importantly, a very deserving family is going to get a home that they can afford in the middle of a housing crisis. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, but our premier sponsor of this is Southeast Bank, John Arnold and his team, and as you might expect, Bill and Chrissy Haslam are great sponsors of this as well, and Bill Chris, who were both very close to Tank and Dwight Kessel, who we're honoring. So I'm excited about it, and I think it can show we can get along together.
Yeah, just to build on that, we only have about 30 seconds, Mayor, but our politics feels divisive right now, more divisive than ever. But you also lived and governed in a very divisive time in this county. What perspective can you offer people heading into what will be another tit-for-tat sort of election season?
John, I think it's okay to be critical of thoughts and ideas and initiatives. I don't think it's okay to be critical of people. And I think that's where we've run off the rails. And while each of us have our moments when you're in the political arena, I've made it a point, would never ever criticize the people who preceded me or my successors. I'm so proud of what Mayor Jacobs has done along with his team and want to be encouraging in that regard. And I think we need to adopt that philosophy going forward. Criticize the ideas, don't criticize people.
Former Mayor Mike Ragsdale, we appreciate the perspective.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It feels like old times in some ways.
We'll have you back.
Thank you very much.
We're back with our talk around right after this.